So, thank you for joining me once again on the Autism Live Chat Show. I've got another great show coming up for you tonight, and on Wednesday morning, I'm speaking with the previous Care Minister Norman Lamb to get his reactions about autism treatment units. So do tune in for that. And today we're going to be talking about autism, the advantages and disadvantages of being on the autistic spectrum. And I'm joined with my special guest today, Mark. Mark, thank you for joining me. It's great to have you on the show. Just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and when you first got diagnosed with autism.
Yeah, so I'm Mark and I'm an actor, and I also help with your charity as well. When I was first diagnosed, it was when I was at high school, and with that, basically, I was, how should I put it now? Yeah, I happened to be, well, I was in going to high school. I was in my class. I was in my tutor group, and I was going through school as I do. But it was just happened to be one day that I heard from somebody. It happened to be a special needs coordinator. That she basically went up to my adopted mum in the school, and my adopted mum just told, your special needs coordinator reckons that you might have Asperger's syndrome or form of autism, and I didn't know what to think about that. I didn't know how to take it. I guess I reacted pretty badly, and it took me a while to get used to that, because I felt like completely different to people in terms of how they're going to see me, and I was proven right in the end over the years. It was a bit hard to take. It is a bit unusual because I before even high school, obviously I went to primary school, but even before that I went to a special needs school. I never knew why I went to special needs school. I don't think there was a reason for that. I wasn't told of a reason. Maybe my foster dad at the time, he must have thought that I needed to go because I was struggling with learning things, and I was very slow to react to things. Because even now I'm still learning things that maybe I should be more aware of than what other people who aren't autistic you should really know, if that makes sense. And if I'm honest with you, I probably should have stayed at special school and not go out of special school into primary school. But the reason why I went to primary school shortly after was because I got then adopted. So I got moved from one town to another, because when I was at primary school, I had somebody coming into my class and take notes for me, because I was so slow to write, but also I struggled to keep up with what was going on in the classroom, what the teacher was saying. It happened at high school as well.
So when you were younger than Mark, did you have a special educational needs assessment? Did you have a, because you didn't get diagnosed until late in life, is that correct?
Yeah, it was when I was at university, and this was going back to 10 years ago or so, 9 years ago. That's when they had the assessment, and I was formally diagnosed with it then, but I should have been diagnosed a lot earlier than that, and I wasn't, and I think but maybe helpful not just to me, but like to others who had to look after me or had to tend to my needs, were aware of that. But it's all very well where a special needs coordinator of the high school just goes up to the adopting mum, because she worked at the high school at the time, and she went to her office and just said, "Your son has Asperger's syndrome." She said the same for my brother as well, but there wasn't a formal diagnosis then, and there should have been. But now I'm aware, and it has been confirmed that I do have it. And the reports, it can cost quite a bit of money to get one of these diagnoses, and it's best to get it on the NHS.
So what age did you?
£300 and not more. That's the disadvantage.
So what age did you actually get diagnosed at?
It was in 2009, so yeah, I would have been 26, and I think that happened a bit too late, in my opinion. Okay, maybe people do get diagnosed later in life. Adults do get diagnosed with Asperger's or a form of autism later than usual, but I think I could have benefited of it being a lot sooner, if I'm honest with you.
So what issues did you face when you were growing up in school, before you went in special school to a mainstream school? What issues did you face in school? Did the teachers understand? Did they just thought you had a learning disability, or did they not know it was autism?
Well, in the special school, I'm sure they had an inkling, but they wouldn't have said anything. And then the reason also why I went to the special school is because my foster dad was the deputy headmaster of that special school, and he's now a headmaster of another special school in another town, not far away from where I was fostered. At primary school, I don't know if there was enough awareness of it, if I'm honest. I don't really much talked about. It's not something I really asked or really found out about that. But I think at high school there was some awareness, but regarding amongst like the pupils or the kids in my year or even the school, I don't think they were completely aware of what it is now, because high school was a long time ago now. I think there's a lot more awareness of autism than there used to be. Even though we've got a long way to go, we are heading in the right direction, I feel. And if people go on,
carry on, Mark.
Yes, sorry. And if people continue to find out what autism is and look into it and be more aware of it, then that will help other people, and especially people with autism, Asperger's, and just to hopefully improve their quality of life, and because that's what we need. We need someone to listen to, someone to understand, or someone to understand what we have, and yeah.
Great. So Mark, we just had a comment coming in saying from Connor PDA saying not being diagnosed at the moment as it's now under ASC. Think subtitles are important due to PDA. So just coming back to you, Mark, we're talking about on the show tonight about the advantages and disadvantages of being on the autistic spectrum. So tell me what you think, first of all, what the disadvantages are of being on the autistic spectrum.
I would say heightened senses is a really big problem. The sensory overload, it can be exhausting, and I will know that myself, because the amount of times where I hear things that are louder than usual, even like, not just that, but sort of tasting things that aren't usually there, It's overbearing and it can get very tiring, and it doesn't help the fact that I have depression, anxiety, and people on the autism spectrum that can suffer from depression, anxiety. There are links, and I'm one of those people who have mental health problems as well as Asperger's, and it does make me tired a lot. So yeah, sensory overload and heightened senses is a big issue, and also I would say getting misunderstood is another problem, and the amount of times I've been misunderstood by people is ridiculous. I mean, I feel that at times I do make a lot of sense, or I feel like I'm making a lot of sense, and I'm not. I'm not like speaking in a complicated language, or do you know what I mean? And then I get people saying, I don't get what you're saying, and then you're asking to repeat that, and like you sort of ask, what do you mean? And you're getting them to repeat that just so you understand. And that's another thing. You just have to ask people, what do you mean? And if you don't understand something, and people on the autism spectrum do have that problem, then yeah, you have to ask them again and again until you get it, or till they make things more clear. Because to be honest, there people who aren't autistic, in the autism community we call them neurotypicals. They don't get us, and we want them to. We want them to understand us, and it would help if they make things clear in what they're saying. And I think another thing as well, which is a disadvantage, if we take things too literally. I mean, there is that. I take things too literally. I know I do. I could be really sensitive to somebody saying something to me, even though it seems completely harmless, but to me I might find it offensive or hurtful or something. So there's that as well. So I would say there's a disadvantages.
So if you are watching this show now, please do share this video out on social media so people can understand and get educated. The more awareness we raise, the better it is. So we've talked about Mark, we've talked about the sensory aspects, we've also talked about the communication side and also being literal. So what else do you think, Mark, is a disadvantage for yourself being on the autistic spectrum?
Now this is the interesting bit, because I've had some bad experiences with the police on certain things. I mean, I think sort of last 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, even when I was in Northampton 2009, I could give you many examples where I feel like I've been targeted because of what I have. There was a time when in Northampton, about 2009 or so, I was walking home from a shift at a nightclub back to my campus, and I noticed this helicopter sort of, it was almost above my head, not like completely above my head, like just above my head, but like in the sky, but coming towards me. And it was about 2 in the morning, because that's what sort of time I finished work. And I thought that was unusual. I mean, to me, I thought that they must be after a criminal or something. But what I found weird is that I thought instantly, hang on a minute, right? I'm walking along. I'm not doing anything. There's no one around. I'm just walking normally. I'm not saying anything. Just walking normally. And I thought to myself, something's going to happen in a moment. And it did, and a police car pulled up, and as soon as the police car pulled up, the helicopter went, and 2 police officers got out and asked me if I had a weapon on me, or checked to see if I had a knife on me. And I thought that was really odd, and I could never understand that, because I don't get myself in trouble with the police. I'm not one of those people. So that was an alarm thing. A bit more recently, and this is probably even more to do so with what I have with my speech. There was a time when I was going to be in a theatre production at Lichfield Garrick a couple of years ago. This is for one of their community productions.
So can we just step back a little set to the just to the police, and we'll go on to the theatre production.
Sure.
So just for people who are watching this now, obviously that situation with the police was very stressful for you, Mark, and obviously caused a lot of anxiety.
It did.
What would have helped you if that situation arose again? Would it have helped if you had maybe a police identity and police autism alert card, so you could show that to the police officer to say, Luke.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched it.
Yeah, rather than getting anxious and anxiety. So would that have helped by just producing some sort of card to show the police?
Well, I'm glad you touched up on that, because I've got a card right here, and I've got it. I've only just had it, and it basically is a card saying I have an autism spectrum condition that can make me vulnerable, and it's given by Autism West Midlands, and it seems to be endorsed by Warwickshire Police, West Mercia Police, and British Transport Police, and Staffordshire Police as well. And on the back it says, "This means I have social communication difficulties. I'm likely to be extremely anxious in familiar situations. My behaviour may appear strange or threatening, or I will need the support of an appropriate adult intermediary." And I think this is great. And after what's happened to me, not just with the police but with a theatre, which I'll come on to in a moment, I think it's useful that I have this card, because I could show it to the emergency services, especially the police, if they challenge me on something that they might find odd. And I'll just say I can show them this, and I urge every viewer who's watching this to get one. I don't know if they do one in other areas outside of West Midlands. I'm guessing they do, but Autism West Midlands do, and you can get it for like £1, and it seems to be really good. So I managed to get one of these, and I hope other people do, because I think it will help them, especially the people on autism spectrum. We want the police and emergency services to know people like ourselves who are vulnerable, who have what we have, to understand why we behave the way we do and why we are what we are. So it's good to have those cards.
Brilliant, Mark. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's really useful, and I think it'd be useful to a lot of people who are actually watching this now, and even so when people watched up on catch up on replay. So we'll go on to the theatre production now. So you were telling us a little bit about the theatre show. What happened there, Mark?
So what it was I was rehearsing for a community theatre production at Lichfield Garrick, and I think everything was going well. Went a few times. It was like every Sunday afternoon, for a couple of hours or so. And I don't know how long it was before the production started, but then I got this email from the chief executive of the Lichfield Garrick, basically saying, "I don't want you in the production because you made," or what he thought, well, this is what he thought I did, but what he deemed to be me making people uncomfortable. And I thought, well, that's a bit unusual, because I'm with autism, or Asperger's, we're not socially in there. We're not socially chatty people. We get that. I know on the autism spectrum, people they don't tend to socialise as much. I mean, people who have Asperger's socialise a little bit more, but they still have difficulties in communicating with people, in socialising, in knowing what to say and things. So I got this email, and I was taken aback, because he basically said that in the email that I made a few people uncomfortable. And when I asked the chief executive, because it was a male, who I made uncomfortable, he wouldn't state names of who it was. I did ask a few of the cast members, but they said to me, "Oh, you didn't make me feel uncomfortable at all." So I'm wondering whether this guy just didn't like me, or he picked up on something that I felt I wasn't really aware of. Maybe I should have been aware of it. But I could tell you this: the way I conducted myself during those rehearsals was when, let's say, for example, I mean, there was one time we were trying to raise money for the production, and we had there was like a big parade going on there on one of the days, and I was handing out flyers to promote the show, and the way I was speaking to people, I wasn't like in any way, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't asking personal details about them. I was actually professional at all times. No way did I feel like I was making them comfortable and being inappropriate and in terms of my body language, because I was how you walk, how we sort of walk normally. We swing our arms, sway our arms sort of side by side as you walk, and that's what I was doing. I wasn't flailing my arms about in any way, or I didn't feel like I was using inappropriate body language. But it was a bit unusual, because what the chief executive was saying seemed to be not agreeing with some of the cast members who were saying something completely different. So that was quite alarming, because he basically saying a few people came up to him and said that I made them uncomfortable, and they, even though I hadn't, but he thinks I did. And I just want to say to viewers, do not go to that theatre, because they obviously aren't autism friendly. They think they are, but they still have a long way to go in terms of autism awareness and in terms of understanding people with autism. And they're not a great theatre to go to. And if somebody who's in charge of a theatre treats people on the autism spectrum like that, then there's no point in going to somewhere that is treating you badly.
Okay, we just had a few messages through. We just had one through from Andrew, and he says, "Hi Mark, it's interesting that you are still using the term Asperger syndrome instead of autism, and I think a lot of people probably still do use the term Asperger when it's now in fact it's all classed as one universal label, autism." Yeah. So Mark, we've talked a little bit about the disadvantages of being on the autistic spectrum. What's your advantages of being on the autistic spectrum?
Well, as you know, from us doing the autism film, from doing a charity music video, anything that's entertaining and creative, that is an advantage, because people on the autism spectrum, people with Asperger's, sorry to the guy who for going a bit off subject and talking about Asperger's and autism. Yeah, there are similarities. It is all sort of universal. I mean, with Asperger's, it's more high functioning autism. Yeah, and even myself can be a bit confused between the two, the autism and the Asperger's. But yeah, while there are similarities, there are differences. So again, I apologise for that. But going back to what I was talking about, the advantages are that we are creative-minded people. We have a knack to be repetitive in subject matters or topics, or just general interests, hobbies and interests. So for me, I love the performing arts. Anything that involves me acting or performing, that's something I love doing. And other people on the autism spectrum, you tend to find are creative minded people. Also, I think I'm not the only one here, but I do have a knack for remembering things, such as trivial things such as like phone numbers, addresses. And I think people on the spectrum have a memory like that, in where they can remember things like that. Even though some of the phone numbers and addresses I can remember are pretty much not useful to me anymore, but I can still remember. I can still remember things from my childhood and what happened then, and sort of I can even remember not just where I used to live with my birth parents, but also being in the womb of my mum, which is very weird. I can remember what that was like, and I think you'll find that people in the autism spectrum have that. I think they can remember unusual things like that, which will be useful to them, but not so necessarily useful to others. So those are the advantages, and also I think we can be honest as well. We tend to be honest, and we have a way of saying things. People who aren't on the autism spectrum don't understand it, but we have a way of saying things that we think are right, and I like to think that to an extent I think we're pretty much almost right compared to those who aren't on the autism spectrum. I think that they can be wrong, and I think that we're more right in our opinions, in what we say, and we're honest about that as well.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Mark. We've just had a message in from Andrew. He says, sorry if I've caused any offence, didn't mean to. He also said, I am an HE professional and use the term autistic with all students because of now of the DSMV-5 criteria. And we've also had a message just come in as well from Connor PDA saying, have you been told you don't look autistic? Not people who don't get it.
Okay, that's a good, interesting one. Well, I mean, I bumped into a guy in the pharmacy about a week or two. I've seen him for years. I knew him from school, and he I told him I had Asperger's, and he said, "Oh, I already knew you had a form of autism or Asperger's." But I asked him, "How do you know that?" Because I'm not told you that. I said, "I just know." So I'm guessing just by looking at me, he all those years back, he already knew. Even now, by looking at me, I mean, I think I don't. You had a form of autism or Asperger's.
Sorry, go on, Mark. Carry on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know quite what to say to that, really, because when it comes to people looking at me, I know they look at me in a weird way. They think, oh, there's something wrong with him, and they're right. I don't think necessarily everyone knows what that is, but I think they've got a good idea. I mean, I've walked down the street many times, or just I've been wandering out and about, whether it's going to the train station or whatever, and I've had what I feel like people, sort of the feeling that people are looking at me. They might not necessarily be looking at me, but you sort of look in the corner of their eye, they're looking at you in a weird way. So I think people who don't know me do see me as weird, to be honest with you, but I don't think they necessarily know why I'm weird. But it's a hard one, to be honest with you. It's difficult to explain, but I don't know if that's just with me, but I think with other people they might experience that same thing, where people look at them weirdly. Or how do we know if they're looking at them weirdly because of what we have, or just to think them because there's just something wrong with us? I don't think everyone knows what Asperger's and autism is. They don't. We're trying to raise awareness of that, and not just yourself, because you're doing a good job with that, by the way. And you're welcome. But there are other people who are as well, and even like I said earlier in the interview, even though there's more people aware of autism and Asperger's, we still have a long way to go. And I think these people who are looking at us weirdly, I think they need to look up on the subject matter and look at what autism and Asperger's syndrome is, and even any other form of autism as well, because there are others like PDA and things. So even ADHD, there's links there as well. My nephew has that, and yeah, I think answering the guy as well who says he doesn't think I have Asperger's, can I just say as well, and I only found this out probably in the last month or so, and I didn't know this, but I've been spending a lot of time seeing my parents after what happened to them earlier this year with their car crash, and my mum said to me, I have a learning disability, and I didn't even know that. I knew she had mental health problems, but it makes a lot more sense now, and things are a lot more clearer, because that tells me that there must be a link with why I have Asperger's and why my nephew has ADHD. It's passed in the family. I know I know there's something wrong with her. I mean, I didn't know she had a learning disability. I know there's something wrong with her mental health problems, but I didn't know she had a learning disability. But I do know for a fact she hasn't worked at all in her whole life, and she does struggle with things, and like myself with Asperger's and people with autism, we do struggle. We struggle in everyday life. Yeah,
Well,
but I do have Asperger's.
Thanks for sharing that, Mark. That's really useful. Thank you. We're going to carry on the conversation now over on Periscope. So if you're on Twitter, Periscope, go over there to us now. The link's on the screen as we speak now. If you go follow on Periscope, and we'll be carrying on this conversation over there. Mark, thanks for joining me on the Autism Live show, and we're now going to pop over to Periscope.
Brilliant.